Welcome to the Pinkpill RX podcast, hosted by Katie and Jay Fillmore, where we navigate complex and thought-provoking subjects surrounding women with a focus on education. For shorter form content, follow us on TikTok at Caters88.
That is KATORS88.
If you enjoy this podcast, please give us a follow.
How we got here? A TikTok trend. Man versus bear thing. And it snowballed into this educational series that we named Pinkpill. It's kind of become a term of pinkpilling, which is educating yourself and others on women's lived experiences and what's actually happening versus what the patriarchy says is happening. And when I say patriarchy, I'm not talking about men necessarily. I'm talking about the structure of patriarchy, which is a leadership structure that benefits men, but is also not kind to men in the sense that patriarchy messes everybody up.
It's a systematic thing.
From there, we just started navigating the depths and complex subjects and having thought-provoking conversations, sometimes humorous conversations. But at times it's gotten pretty dark.
Very shocking to me, a lot of things. What shocked me at the beginning of this whole thing, when your videos started going everywhere, was how shocked that women were that I was listening and receptive and not dismissive or trying to downplay or explain away and things like that, but rather I just listened. And that's still shocking to me that that was such a shocker.
You approached it instead of convince you that your notions are wrong and viewed it more from assuming what I was telling you was the truth and being able to evaluate that.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I mean, I respect you greatly, and I know you're incredibly intelligent and you're incredibly forthright.
I come from a very conservative background, grew up very religious and very conservative. Think Duggar's Light.
Duggar's Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think that. Think trad wife. And I was born and bred to be one of them. It's been interesting during this process because although had deconstructed some, I had not deconstructed to the extent that I am deconstructed now from the patriarchy. And the more and more I deconstruct, the farther and farther I get from where I started in my conservative upbringing. And sometimes I feel like I'm their dirty little TikTok secret. Because still very, very conservative. And you know what?
Yeah.
To him his own, I'm not, and when I say conservative, I mean religiously conservative. That's what I grew up with. So this has been an interesting experience unraveling that, because I definitely grew up with a dad who provided financially and wasn't super involved in kids' lives necessarily. And then a mom who was everything. A mom who, when the Me Too movement was going on, told me it was a scary time to have boys because of false accusations, because now it's becoming a trend. #MeToo. You get the idea. My professional roots are in registered nursing. So I'm a registered nurse. I still work as a registered nurse part-time. My main background is in OB and women's health. TikTok is what I do on the side. Now podcasting is what I do on the side. I would like to learn how to fly eventually. I would like a stand-up comedy career eventually.
Right. Yeah. Stand-up comedy is a big one on your list.
It is. But in my 40s, and you know what? I'm going to be honest. Fencing is interesting to me.
I am not surprised. I am so unsurprised. Yeah, mine was different. My growing up was different from yours because I had a more secular home, and my mom and my dad, it was pretty even split on spending time with them during the day. My dad worked at home in the mornings. My mom worked out of the house. Then my dad would do his out of the house work in the afternoon. My mom would be home. So I saw them both a lot. My mom did more of she did the cleaning and stuff, and she would cook. My dad would cook too. And they would both do outdoor stuff, yard work stuff together. And it was more egalitarian than I would say yours was.
Which is why the second time around I married you.
Yeah. Well, also in my background, I'm much more, I really value objectivity and coming to conclusions. And I like data, and I like statistics, and I like the facts, and I like logic. My background is I have a bachelor's in mathematics, and then I taught high school mathematics for 7 or 8 years. And then I went into real estate, investing, flipping and things like that, which worked really well with my numbers background. I learned enough in the trades to be able to do things and not hurt myself or other people. Okay, I'm just going to lay it out here. I like croquet.
We have 4 kids.
Not just 4 kids. We have 4 girls. Literally, I'm the only male force in this house. We have 4 daughters. I'm married to you. All of my pets are girls. Because of that, as a man, I'm very, very invested. Not the pets part, but like because of my 4 daughters and being married, I'm very, very invested in things that pertain to women because there's a lot of women I deeply care about.
How do you feel when men act like they feel bad for you?
It makes me mad, and I always I got 4 daughters. Well, it's a lot of weddings to pay for. Or wait till they're teenagers.
That's a sea of estrogen.
Or the most common one is, oh, you guys gonna try for that boy?
Yeah.
And that one gets me in a certain way, because then I'll say, no. I mean, I love being a dad to girls. That's what I say. And I say if we have another kid, we have a boy. That's great. That's a unique, great experience. But I love being a dad to girls, and if I have another girl, I'm so happy because it makes me feel, it feels disgusting that, because in a way they're devaluing my daughters by thinking I need to try to have something other than them, and I get it'd be great to have a boy. It'd be a unique experience, but I love my girls, and I would not be sad at all if I had all girls.
Isn't that interesting that the devaluing starts that young?
Yeah, it always really has rubbed me the wrong way, like forever.
But that devaluation in comparison to a male baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I had all boys, I wonder how frequently that same comment would be made to me. Oh, you're going to keep trying for that girl? I wonder how often in comparison. Something tells me it wouldn't be. Yeah, because I think I think
culturally we feel less bad for women who have all boys than we do for men who have all girls.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which again is the male dominant perspective.
It makes me very frustrated, and it feels disgusting, and it makes me sad because I feel like other people are devaluing my kids. I am elated every time advocate for themselves. Gosh, elated, proud. That makes me very happy because I want that to be your mindset, that you have boundaries. You explicitly advocate for those boundaries. Yes. And you tell people how to treat you. And I think it's there's a lot of comments shared.
I'm going to share a couple actually, because they are really touching. When we hear how this went from our home to your home, those are my favorite comments.
Yeah.
One follower said, "You've inspired me to do this with my husband. He had to ask me to stop for a bit the other day because he was seriously getting distressed."
I hear you, brother.
It has absolutely changed the narrative in our home. I can see my husband looking at things through a different lens now. It means so much to me as a woman and a mother of 2 teen daughters. Those kind of comments are my favorite comments.
Imagine having daughters, but being an open-minded man who believes women and advocates for them. To have that example as your dad and that standard set. Your dad kind of sets what type of bar you look for in if you want a husband. But same thing for women and mothers for their sons and stuff like that. But gosh, to have that be the force of masculinity in your household, powerful thing.
You look to your father as to how people should treat you. So if you have an educated father who's properly pink-pilled, the benefit that will give your daughter in knowing how people should think towards her and regard her will be enormous.
Yeah.
Our follower breakup is about 80-20. So 80% women and 20% men, which is up from 12% men, which was 60 days ago. So I am encouraged by that.
Yeah.
However, what I want to say is I don't get a ton of trolls.
Oh, yeah, you don't.
On my page.
Yeah.
Because most of what I'm quoting is citable sources that are not opinion.
Yeah.
It just is.
Mm-hmm.
And that really cuts down on it. But what I appreciate is, to me, that shows me that the 20% male following are actually following out of interest, not to troll or because I can't believe what this woman's saying.
That's
so
a really good point.
I do appreciate that 20% actually absorbing it, hopefully. It gives me more hope that they're absorbing it.
You know, and I think too, to be a man who is open to this type of conversation, and for men to be like, to follow your account and have interest in your account, like, you're probably coming up against opposition from peers and friends because that are maybe more entrenched in their mindset of what women's experiences are like. And so men following you, like, out of that 20%, probably a lot, if not a majority of them, are going against the culture they're in with their friends and their peers.
You know, we have been told by a few followers that it actually has changed the way that they were going to vote. Also, from one particular person talking about how now her husband's advocating for that when he started out on the opposite side of that. And what's interesting is we did that without ever talking about the candidates. I just think that's really beautiful that just by the facts, they were able or felt like they could make a more informed decision. Mm-hmm. So much so that they're talking about it with peers. Yeah.
This isn't crazy talking points like when you're watching one of the standard news stations.
It's not sensationalism.
No, it's facts, and it's the truth is sensational enough. Take your pick. The facts are enough to be sensational.
Yeah, and we're going to ride this ride until this ride don't ride no more.